Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tale, where secrets slip, lies unravel, and the truth always has a twist. Real stories, raw confessions, and shocking betrayals. Drop a comment if you've ever caught a red flag too late. Now, let's get into today's tale. My mother-in-law scoffed, "I'll be moving in to help raise the baby. Since you're clearly unprepared," my husband smirked. "She's got a point." I took a sip of tea, smiled, and said, "Too bad, I've already hired a nanny." When they met her there, Smug Grins disappeared when I told my husband Ethan that I was pregnant. He was overjoyed. We had been trying for a while, and the news brought us closer. However, I knew that sharing the news with his mother Veronica would be a different story. Veronica had always been a dominant presence in our lives, often offering unsolicited advice and opinions during a family dinner. I announced my pregnancy. Veronica's eyes lit up and she immediately began discussing nursery themes and baby names. She even suggested that we move into her house so she could help us. Ethan laughed it off, but I felt a knot form in my stomach as my pregnancy progressed. Veronica's involvement intensified. She would show up unannounced with baby clothes, rearrange our nursery, and critique our choices. One afternoon she sat us down and said, "I've decided to move in with you to help raise the baby. You're clearly unprepared." Ethan, instead of defending me, nodded in agreement. "She has a point," he said. I took a deep breath, sipped my tea, and smiled. "Too bad. I've already hired a nanny." Veronica's face turned red. "A nanny you trust, a stranger over family?" "Yes," I replied calmly. "She's highly recommended and has years of experience." When our nanny Maya arrived, Veronica was visibly displeased. Maya was professional, kind, and immediately bonded with our baby. Veronica tried to undermine her at every turn, questioning her methods and offering unsolicited advice. One day I returned home to find Veronica instructing Maya on how to hold the baby. Maya looked uncomfortable, and I intervened. "Veronica, Maya is trained and knows what she's doing," I said firmly. Veronica huffed and left the room. The tension escalated when Veronica began rearranging the nursery without our permission. She replaced items, moved furniture, and even painted a wall a color we hadn't agreed upon. I confronted her. "Veronica, this is our home and our child. We appreciate your help, but you need to respect our boundaries." She scoffed. "I'm just trying to help. You're making a mistake." Ethan finally stepped in. "Mom, we need you to take a step back. We're grateful for your support, but we need to do this our way." Veronica left in a huff, and we didn't hear from her for weeks. During Veronica's absence, our home became peaceful. Maya was a godsend, and we settled into our new roles as parents. Ethan and I grew closer, and we felt confident in our parenting choices. Eventually, Veronica reached out, apologizing for overstepping. We agreed to set clear boundaries moving forward while our relationship remains strained. We've learned the importance of standing up for ourselves and protecting our families. Peace. Just when I thought things were starting to calm down, Veronica came back, not in person but through whispers, subtle little moves. She started calling Ethan during work hours, a lot, sometimes twice a day, sometimes more. It always sounded innocent enough, just checking in, "How's the baby?" But soon, Ethan started acting off. He started second-guessing things Maya did. "Should the baby really sleep this much? Do you think we should start a different formula?" These were not questions he had ever cared about before. I knew exactly where they were coming from. One night, I caught him on the phone with her in the guest room, whispering like he was hiding something. I asked him straight up, "Are you talking to your mom about how we're raising our child?" He looked guilty for half a second, then snapped, "What's the big deal? She's raised 3 kids. She knows what she's talking about." That felt like a punch in the chest. I didn't say anything. I just went into the nursery and closed the door. Maya was there, rocking the baby, quiet and calm. I sat beside her, silent, just watching. Veronica was trying to get into his head, and it was working. A few days later, Ethan came home with a weird expression. He stood in the kitchen holding his phone like it was radioactive. "My mom found something about Maya. I didn't even look up what she says. Maya used to work for a family in Connecticut, and that there was some kind of incident that got my attention," he continued. "Apparently the mom accused her of being too attached to the baby, like borderline obsessed. The dad ended up defending Maya and it got messy." I blinked. "And where did your mom get this information?" Ethan shrugged. "She said someone from her bridge club knows the woman." "Bridge club? Seriously?" That night I sat down with Maya. I asked her calmly, "Have you ever had issues with another family you worked for?" Maya didn't flinch. She met my eyes and said yes. Once the mother was deeply insecure and accused me of things because her husband complimented how I handled their son. That's it. I left it. Never went further. No police, no legal stuff. I believed her. but something had shifted, not in my trust for Maya, but in the atmosphere around us. I could feel Veronica's presence in the walls now. She wasn't physically in the house, but she was in the cracks of every decision we made. A week later, Maya started acting strange, quiet, nervous. She wasn't eating with us anymore. She kept her phone on her at all times. One afternoon, I caught her outside talking to someone in Spanish, walking fast up and down the backyard path she didn't know. I was watching from the kitchen window. Later that night, I asked her if everything was okay. She looked me dead in the eyes and said someone came to my apartment. A woman. I froze. What? She said she was checking on your baby, that she had reason to believe the baby was not safe. She said she was your mother. My blood went cold. Veronica went to your home. Maya nodded slowly. She asked me a lot of questions. She wanted pictures of the nursery. She wanted to know if I locked the doors. When I left the house, I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Ethan. When I confronted him in the morning, he looked shocked. I didn't know she went that far, he said. I knew she was upset, but I didn't think she'd show up at Maya's place. That was the final straw. I called a lawyer. I didn't want things to escalate legally, but I needed to know what options I had. I wanted to set up a boundary so clear Veronica would have to think twice before pulling this kind of stunt again. I also installed security cameras, every door, every window. Ethan was quiet through all this. He wasn't fighting me, but he wasn't exactly on my side either. I could tell he felt stuck, torn between me and the woman who raised him. But I wasn't torn, not anymore. Veronica had crossed every line, and I had a feeling she wasn't finished. One morning, I came home from running errands to find Maya standing at the front door holding a manila envelope. It was taped to the door, she said. Inside was a stack of printed photos, pictures of Maya at the grocery store, at the park with the baby, leaving our house. Someone was watching her. There was no note, just the pictures. I sat down on the floor, numb. Maya said nothing, just stood there, pale as a ghost. I called Ethan at work. She's stalking Maya. She's having someone follow her. He didn't believe it. You don't know that it's her. I do, I said. I know her. He came home early, but he didn't do much. He didn't call his mom. He just sat in the living room staring at the TV. I started sleeping with the baby monitor volume turned way up. Maya started keeping pepper spray in her coat pocket. Everything had changed, and deep down I knew the worst was still coming. A week later, I got a call from the local Child Protective Services. Yes, CPS. The woman on the line was polite but firm. We received a tip regarding the welfare of your child. We'd like to come by for a quick visit. I didn't panic. I knew our house was clean, the baby was healthy, and Maya was an angel. But I did feel something dark and sharp slide into my chest. Veronica, when the agent came by, she checked the nursery, the fridge, Maya's credentials, and asked me basic questions. She was respectful, even apologetic. Before leaving, she said quietly, off the record, "We've had calls like this before. You'd be surprised how often. It's from a family member with a grudge." I wanted to scream instead. I nodded. I didn't tell Maya, not yet. She was already so nervous, and I didn't want to scare her off. Ethan, I told him everything, and that was the first time I saw fear in his eyes. "You think she called CPS?" "I don't think." I said. "I know." He went quiet, sat on the edge of the bed, and didn't say anything for a long time. Then he whispered, "I need to talk to her." I shook my head. "No, I'm handling it now." "She crossed the line, Ethan. This isn't your mom anymore. This is a problem, and I'm done playing nice." That weekend, Maya got a job offer, a wealthy family in Atlanta, twice the pay, private guest house, full benefits. I caught her in the kitchen late at night looking at the offer on her phone. "You're leaving?" I asked. She looked ashamed. I didn't apply. "They found me through someone, Veronica," I said flatly. Maya nodded once. I wanted to beg her to stay, but I didn't. I just said, "Do what you need to do." She didn't accept the offer right away. Instead, she asked for a few days to think. She still loved our baby, still believed in helping us, but I could feel the pressure building. Maya was becoming a pawn in Veronica's little game. The same day Maya got the offer, I got a notification from one of the security cameras, motion in the side yard. When I pulled up the feed, my hands went cold. It was a man, middle-aged, hat pulled low. He didn't come to the door. He didn't knock. He just walked around the house, slowly peeking in windows. Then he left. I called the police, gave them the footage. They didn't recognize the man, but they took it seriously, said they'd increase patrols in the area. When Ethan got home, I showed him the footage. He was pale. "You think she hired someone?" "I don't know what to think anymore," I said. "But someone is coming around our house without knocking. That's not normal." That night, I emailed the footage to 3 different places, my lawyer, my sister, and a private Investigator I just hired. Yes, I hired a private investigator. I wanted someone watching Veronica the way she was watching us. It took 3 days. Then I got the first report. Veronica had been talking to a man named Ronnie, recently paroled old family friend, used to do handyman work for people in her neighborhood. No official business, no real address. He'd been in and out of jail for trespassing, petty theft, and stalking. Guests who matched the guy in the security footage. The pie was still digging, but he told me flat out, "Your mother-in-law is recruiting people. She's not acting alone anymore." I didn't cry, I didn't panic. I printed out the report, highlighted the important parts, and handed it to Ethan the next morning. He didn't say anything for a full minute. Then he said, "I'll talk to her." I shook my head. "No, I will." I drove to her house alone. Maya stayed with the baby, and Ethan didn't even ask where I was going. He knew Veronica answered the door like she was expecting me. "Can I help you?" she asked sweetly. I held up the report. "I know about Ronnie." Her smile faltered for a second, then it came back. "You've always been dramatic," she said. "You can't even handle motherhood without hired help." I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. "You need to back off, Veronica. The CPS call, I know it was you. The photos, you're lucky I don't press charges. The man in my yard, I have him on video. And now, I have proof. You're connected." Her face changed. Something cold slid across it. "Do you think Ethan will believe this?" "He already does." That got her. "You think you've won," she hissed, "but you're not even close." I left. No yelling, no slamming doors, just calm silence that night. Maya gave me her answer. "I'll stay," she said, "but I want to move into the guest room, and I want the baby's crib in your room, not the nursery." I nodded. Done. We made the changes, and I started writing everything down, every incident, every call, every strange visit. I even backed up my camera footage in 3 different drives. I wasn't just protecting my child anymore. I was preparing for war. A week later, things seemed almost quiet. Maya was doing great. The baby was sleeping well. Ethan and I were still tense, but civil. Then came the envelope. It was left in our mailbox. No return address, no stamps. Inside were photos again. But these were different. These were of me in the grocery store, at the pharmacy. Even one of me getting into my car with the baby. And one taken through our front window of me breastfeeding. I couldn't breathe. My skin felt like it was on fire. These weren't just threats anymore. This was harassment. I called the police again. They came, took the envelope, and promised to escalate the investigation. Maya saw me shaking and grabbed the baby. Ethan came home to find me sitting on the floor, surrounded by cops and broken nerves. I showed him the photos. He finally snapped. He didn't even say anything. He just grabbed his keys and left. Ethan went to Veronica's house. He later told me he didn't knock. He just walked in and confronted her, screaming. She denied everything, called him weak, said he was letting his wife destroy their family. Then she made the final mistake, she said. "If you were a real man, your child wouldn't be raised by a maid." That did it. Ethan left her house and came home with red eyes. I had never seen him cry before. "I'm sorry," he said. "I let it get this far. I didn't protect you. I didn't believe you. When I should have, I believed him. But I also knew this wasn't over. Not until she was gone from our lives for good." I called my lawyer again. We started the paperwork for a restraining order against Veronica. I also pressed charges for harassment and trespassing. The photos of me, especially the one while breastfeeding, were enough to get the judge's attention. I gave the investigator the green light to start talking to CPS, the neighbors, even the other families Veronica was involved with. And guess what? She had a pattern. Another woman came forward. Then, another. Veronica had interfered in 2 other households before us, both times using scare tactics and fake reports. One woman had moved across the country to get away. That was the final piece. I called the police, handed them everything, and told them I wanted to press charges not just for me but for those other women. Two weeks later, the police showed up at Veronica's door. She tried to act calm, tried to play innocent. But it was over. They had the footage. The PI's report, Maya's testimony, even the other women. Veronica was charged with stalking, harassment, and making false reports to CPS. Ethan and I stood in court together when she was arraigned. She looked at me, eyes cold, no remorse, just hate. The judge granted the restraining order. Maya filed her own. We sold the house and moved across the state to start over. Ethan cut off all contact with her permanently. He changed, became a real partner, stopped letting things slide. I changed too. I learned to speak up earlier, to not brush off red flags in the name of family. I stayed quiet too long. I let her bully me. I ignored my gut when it screamed, "That's on me." But Veronica, she went too far, she broke laws, she hurt people, and now she's banned from ever contacting her grandson. She lost her son, her access, her power. She lost everything, all because she couldn't let go of control and me. I gained peace, my home is safe now, Maya stayed with us, became like family, the baby is thriving. Veronica wanted control, what she got was consequences. And that's the story of how my mother-in-law tried to ruin my life and ended up ruining her.